Alright folks, I'm Keegan Schneider and welcome to another edition of a predictions video on the channel here today. And it's Talladega time. The Geico 500 at Talladega is later today, one of the bigger races of the season, especially in the regular season, because if you win, you are in the playoffs, as long as you qualify inside the top 30, obviously, too. But majority of the drivers, obviously, in this race, racing full-time in the Cup Series point standings this year, obviously, are, you know, in the top 30. There's not many drivers that have ran every race this year. But regardless of the fact, here are my predictions, drivers that you should probably stay away from, dark horse picks perhaps, and locks for your lineup, your fantasy lineup here today, as well as my fantasy team at the end of it, who I have on my team and who I have to win the race. So for starters, there's really only one driver I look at as drivers you should not have in your lineup today, and that's Truex Jr. In the last 4 races here, last 4 years, so in the last 8 races at Talladega, he has not finished better than 20th. That is a, big bold sign. He's never won on a super speedway either in his career, and I don't see him getting the win here today or really competing for it. Obviously, it's Talladega and anything can happen, but I just don't think it's a very wise pick to take Truex Jr. in today's race. Another guy you can kind of look at towards then is Kevin Harvick, because he's been so great on the intermediate tracks this year. So you wouldn't want to use him for Talladega. Plus, in the last 4 races at Talladega, he hasn't finished inside the top 15, so that could be kind of alarming as well. Harvick hasn't had that great of success on these, I should say, not necessarily super speedways, but at Talladega over the last couple of years. So maybe he should be another driver you can kind of stay away from in today's race also, even though he has won here a couple times in his career. But first and foremost, yeah, Truex Jr., keep him out of your lineup. So now dark horse picks. There is quite a few, obviously. Again, it's Talladega, anything could happen. But here are some guys that I think are very good dark horse picks, and I have some factual evidence, obviously, with racing reference involved into that. So, first driver, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky has been really, really solid at the super speedways. The only downfall with Ricky Stenhouse is he can be too aggressive at times and cause wrecks, and obviously, therefore, if he caused the wreck, he can get into the wreck as well. But he started up front the Daytona 500 earlier this year, ran well all throughout, outside of maybe, spinning out William Byron, and then obviously he got turned with less than 20 laps to go later in the race as well. That took him out of contention to win it, but he had a good day up until then. And plus, you look at the last 7 races at Talladega, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has 5 top 10s. That's pretty solid. And that includes 1 win back in 2017 when he got his first career win at Talladega. So Ricky Stenhouse is a great dark horse pick, probably the best dark horse pick you can have on your team. I'm going to stretch out on the limb for this next one, but I'm going to say Brendan Gaughan could honestly be a dark horse pick. He finished in the top 10 in the Daytona 500 this year. He was leading at Talladega in the fall in the playoff race last year before he flipped, and then last year at Talladega also he finished in the top 10 in the spring race. So you never know. They Brendan Gaughan's only been running these super speedways in the Cup Series over the last couple of years, and this is his swan song season. He's only got 3 races left. I'm not saying he's necessarily going to go out there and win the race or even compete for it, but he could be a good solid pick to have in your top 10. I don't think he's going to have a lot of stage points today, because he's probably going to sit at the back in the first half of the race, at least through the first 2 stages, because he's not going to have to battle for stage points. He's not running for points this season. But he could very well be there in the end, and if you get a guy like him to finish in the top 10, he gets, over 30 points today based off of his finish. That's a great day, especially by Talladega standards if we have a decent amount of accidents that take out quite a few drivers. So that'd be a big key to have, as well as guys that maybe might score a lot of stage points early and wreck out late. You really don't want that guy that doesn't score a lot of stage points and doesn't succeed on top of it. One more dark horse pick, actually 2 more dark horse picks that you could possibly take on your fantasy lineup is Matt Dibenedetto. He's led a lot of laps in the super speedways. He's actually led the most laps without winning a race on the super speedways all last season, and that includes the Daytona 500 earlier this season as well. I think Matt Dibenedetto could be a surprise pick. He just needs to finish the race. That's the problem he's been having, is trying to get to the end of the race. If he can get to the end of the race, I guarantee he will be in the top 10 at the end of the day. Another driver that could be a dark horse pick is Corey Lajoie. Corey Lajoie finished in the top 10 of the Daytona 500 earlier this year, and he finished in the top 10 at Talladega last fall. He also had a top 15 in the spring race at Talladega. Again, a driver that I feel like is going to stay at the back most of the day, try to avoid multiple big ones, and he could be there late by the end of the race. You could say that for a lot of the smaller teams, but at least guys like Brendan Gaughan and Corey Lajoie have had success doing that in the last couple of years. Ryan Preece also has had success doing that, but I would stay away from Ryan Preece. He's a little bit on a slump right now as well, but Corey Lajoie, he's had a couple top 20 runs in the last couple of weeks, which is good for Go Fast Racing, and so I could see them having another solid run today. Now I don't know what I was going to say there. Now my locks and my must-have picks for today's race at Talladega. So there are a couple guys that I want on your guys' fantasy teams for sure. Number one is, actually I'm going to say them both because they have both similar stats here at Talladega over recent years. Joey Logano and Aric Almirola are well, Almirola could be considered a dark horse, but they are both locks in my fantasy lineup today. In the last 7 races at Talladega, Almirola and Logano each have 1 win. And not only that, but they have finished in the top 10 5 times as well, so much like Stenhouse. And in fact, Joey Logano has finished in the top 10 6 times in the last 7 races here. And for Almirola, those 7 races at Talladega, he's finished in the top 10 that many times. 3 of those times were with Richard Petty Motorsports. He is a great restrictor plate racer. Well, I guess super speedway racer now, but they took the restrictor plates off of him. But I think those are 2 solid lineup guys, especially Almirola. I haven't used him much at all this year. I might have used him once, maybe twice. And I know Logano, in fact, I've only used twice this year too. So I definitely plan on using those 2 today. So now let's go to see who I have. All right, so here is my lineup from last week at Homestead. But obviously, we're going to make some changes here for this race at Talladega today. So let's take a look at who we have in my lineup for today's race. So we're going to take Keselowski out first and foremost. We're going to put those locks of Joey Logano in the lineup. You see he's in the garage currently right now. Aric Almirola as well. We're going to take Kevin Harvick out of here. And then we're going to look at maybe some other names. Chase Elliott could be a good guy to have on your team today. We're not going to use him because we only have 4 more usages of Chase Elliott, and he's been strong most of the season. So we're going to hold off on him. We're going to go with one of the dark horse picks, though. Like I said, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I think he can have a great day here today. He has proven himself time and time again. We're going to go to the garage. We're going to take one of my other dark horse picks. I'm going to take Corey Lajoie right here. I think he's a good garage pick. You never know. If somebody gets in a big one or in some sort of a wreck in the opening portions of the race, obviously you can substitute, and I think Corey Lajoie could be a good garage driver for your team today. Don't want to go too far out on the limb, but we are going with a little bit of a stretch here today nonetheless. Going to put Logano back into the lineup there. Again, Chase Elliott could be a good pick, but we're going to stay away from him here today. We're going to go after Ryan Blaney. He won here at Talladega last fall, and he's had good success on the super speedways as well. And then last but not least, we're going to go with Denny Hamlin. Obviously, one of the contenders when it comes to these types of super speedway races. You've seen Blaney and Hamlin towards the front a lot lately, so I'm going to take their luck with the roll of the dice, even though I feel like Hamlin typically performs a little better at Daytona than Talladega. But at the same time, I mean, again, he could still be a threat to score a lot of stage points, perhaps, even if he doesn't necessarily get the finish he might deserve. So now we're going to roll into who my picks are for the win here today. This is really scrambling. I mean, this is tough to say. There's a lot of guys on hot streaks coming into today that you can look at that are good at super speedways, or at least decent at super speedways, like a Ryan Blaney. Even a Chase Elliott for that matter, even though Elliott does have 1 win this season. There's a very good chance you could see drivers get a first win of the season. It's really all over the place. I mean, you could literally draw a name out of a hat. So we're going to go with our race winner as the same driver that I'm going to take in stage 1 and 2. Just in case they win any of the stages or the race, I at least get some sort of bonus points there. So I really want to pick a guy that's on my team because I really think that they could contend more. My heart says Blaney, and he could get the job done today. But at the same time, Denny Hamlin is probably the safest pick. And Hamlin, of course, won a stage at Daytona and won the Daytona 500, but I just feel like he's going to contend for stage wins today. So we'll probably take Denny Hamlin to have stage 1 and 2. We might actually change the race win pick. I really don't want to take Hamlin because it's like he's got to end up losing on these super speedways at some point in time, or have a slow streak, or something where he's not going to have a great finish. But I mean, you look at guys like him and Logano. They're just so good when it comes to these super speedway races. Yeah, Penske's been fast this year. I think they'll work a lot better as a team. Fords in general been pretty dominant. I think we're going to take Joey Logano to win the race here today. It's a bit of a safer pick. Obviously, that means we're going to be taking Ford as well. It's a safer pick. I mean, if I'm wrong, that's okay in a sense, because anything can happen. This is so difficult. But yeah, Joey Logano is going to be my pick to win at Talladega here today. So comment down below, who are your picks for Talladega? Maybe who do you have on your fantasy lineup? Share it in the comments section. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Hit the like button if you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you guys later on tonight for a post-race analysis. Should be a fun day. Hopefully you tune in not only to the channel later today, but even the race, because it will be a fun one. Have a good afternoon, guys, and I'll see you later.